The beans were stacked in towers. Water jugs lined the walls like obedient sentinels. His generator sputtered in the distance, an uneven hum that drilled into his skull. Months of preparation, all because no one had listened. Not the tech suits at his old job, not his boss, not even himself. Sam sat on the porch, staring into his coffee. The analog clock on the wall behind him ticked backward, each jerk of the hands a reminder. Time wasn't his ally. Midnight was coming. Y2K, the end of everything. The pond caught his eye, its surface disturbingly still. He hated the pond, hated how its glassy reflection mocked him, how it always felt like it was watching, especially when she showed up. Gertrude waddled out from the shadows, her movements slow and deliberate, her feathers faintly glowing under the moon. She stopped at the water's edge, tilted her head, and honked. Sam flinched, spilling cold coffee onto his jeans. His hand shot to the broomstick leaning against the porch railing. "Not tonight," he said, his voice low, tight. "You hear me?" Gertrude stared at him, unblinking. Her reflection in the pond lagged behind, moving a second too late. "You think this is funny?" he said, standing now, the broomstick gripped tightly in his hands. His breath quickened as he pointed it at her. "It's all a big joke to you, huh? Not since that day in the server room, when your wings set off the sprinklers." His knuckles whitened. "I gave up everything. My career, my life, and for what? For you to come waddling back like the world's still upright." Gertrude honked again, sharper this time. The pond rippled, bending upward like it wanted to escape the earth entirely. Midnight struck. The world flipped again for Sam. Sam felt gravity shift, yanking him sideways, then up. He stumbled, fell to his knees, and clung to the porch rail as the ground twisted and warped. The sky was beneath him now, the stars stretched into spiraling patterns. The pond reflected it all, an inverted world where everything seemed sharper, more vivid. Sam's own reflection stared back at him with wide, empty eyes. It smiled, a second too late for his face to match. "This doesn't scare me," he yelled, his voice breaking. "You don't scare me. You're nothing but a goose." Gertrude stood in the pond's center, her honk cutting through his cries. The pond rippled, collapsing back into itself, and the world steadied. Morning came pale and gray. Dew clung to the grass, each drop a perfect mirror of the lightening sky. The beans still stood in their towers, the water jugs still lined the walls. But they seemed smaller now, less like fortifications and more like monuments to his fear. Sam sat slumped on the porch, the broomstick discarded at his feet. His preparations, his paranoia, his perfectly ordered world of emergency supplies. It all felt hollow now. The yard was quiet again, peaceful even, as if the night's chaos had been nothing but a dream. But he knew better. Gertrude waddled into the distance, her silhouette shrinking with each deliberate step. She paused once, glanced back, and honked, not in triumph or mockery, but with something that might have been forgiveness or pity. The sun rose higher, washing the yard in light that felt too normal, too ordinary for what had happened. Sam turned to the window behind him and caught his reflection. It smiled faintly, just a second too late, and he wondered if anything would ever tick forward properly again. Somewhere far off, faint but deliberate, he heard a honk.
with a broom in his hand to save his world from the goose so grand. Gertrude was glowing, feathers so bright, flipping the world in the dead of night. Honk, honk! The battle raged on, beans were flying and the moonlight shone. The pond was bending, the stars looked wrong. Reality shattered, but Sam stayed strong. With one last swipe, he stood his ground. Now the world's upright, the goose can't be found. Honk, honk! Gertrude's gone far away, but don't look twice, she might come back someday. Honk, honk! Who's the winner, you say? Sam's still standing, he lives to fight another day.